Hey there, welcome back once again. It is time for the golden age of DC Comics, 365 days, where I take this beloved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends. This has been surfing my coffee table ever since and has been a constant source of comic book shop style conversations, the kind I wish to recreate here today with you. That is right. Thank you so much for tuning in. The golden age of DC Comics runs between 1938 and 1955. The Silver Age from 1956 until 1970. The the Bronze Age. Hello, the Bronze Age. I'm a Bronze Age baby. From about 1970 to 1984 or 85, and the Copper Age begins in 1985. I get these standards from the glossary of the most current edition of the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide. Get yourself a copy. It's a really valuable tool for any comics book fan. This is a 2004 Abrams publication, written and curated by Les Daniels, Chip Kidd, and Geoff Spear. I have put the link in the description so you can get your own copy if you'd like. It makes a great gift for a geek, and you can play along at home. And what goes better with a coffee table book and our coffee table talk? Well, pull up a chair, grab a cup of your favorite whatever. I've got some Ethiopian guji, freshly brewed, freshly roasted, freshly ground, fresh. This is a great cup of coffee. What are you drinking? What are you bringing to the table? Let me know. Oh, that's a good cup of coffee. Oh, yeah. Let's get to it. I use this 365 days book for its intended purpose. It's a page a day. We're going to open up to today's date, which is September the 20th. We're going to look at some comic book art from an antediluvian age. We're going to read the blurb, and then we're going to talk about comic books. And we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. I usually also include something called the Escapism Caveat. It's going to be, in a video, in a playlist. I made its own video for it. I felt it needed some time to breathe, and it needed its own space in its own place. And it's about activism and advocacy and messaging and agendas and just getting everywhere and into our escapism, where we go to escape the real world's problems that are, constantly reminded by activism and agendas and advocacies and messagings. And can there be a balance with the two? I mean, leave me a comment in that comments. Continue that conversation. I would love to, but let's get to it. I hope you're having an awesome day. I hope that you're standing up your challenges and not having your challenges, stand on you. You know what I mean? So let's get to it. September the 20th. It's art by Bernard Bailey from More Fun Comics number 70, August of 1941. It's the Spectre. So they are responsible for Granger's death. Bandar seems to be concentrating mightily. The Spectre trails the astral visitant through the dimensional world. I've a hunch we were headed for a showdown. So powerful is the seer's will that he succeeds in separating his astral self from his body. Bum, bum, bum. Out of body's experience. Yes, indeed. Another character dreamed up by the original writer of Superman, the Spectre, seemed to be Jerry Siegel's stab at creating the ultimate superhero. In fact, the Spectre was apparently omnipotent. Is that when you need Viagra to, make it? Oh no! Don't make it hard on our viewers, please. Don't do that. Bad puns. Omnipotent. Oh my goodness. A murdered police officer, Jim Corrigan, was returned to Earth as a pale, green-shrouded figure whose impossible mission was to eliminate all crime. Nicknamed the Grim Ghost, he was a take-no-prisoners type who thought nothing of killing criminals. In this tale, he's pursuing his corrupt and cowled counterpart, Bandar, the leader of a cult that murders its backsliding members. Indeed, I will dub this a slow news day because we have our favorites. I shouldn't have favorites. I should just objectively be nailing the subject as we go along, all 365 of them. You know what I mean? And Spectre's come up a few times. It'll probably come up again, so I'm going to have to find, so every time Spectre comes up, I call it a slow news day. So I think I've said everything there is to say about Spectre. I haven't talked about Crispus Allen yet. That was the second Spectre. No, that was the third Spectre. The second Spectre was Hal Jordan. Next time we'll get into the history of the modern usage of Spectre, and but I wanted to I fell down a rabbit hole. I fell right on my head, and I wanted to do a quick oral history of DC Comics. That was my intention. It's not my intention to just read from wikis. I think that's not going to be good television. I don't think that's a good show. So my idea was to just I'm learning about this as I'm doing research. I have show notes. We use show notes. We do, and I make show notes. And so doing this show, I find out more and more about DC Comics, but also about publication and about comics themselves, especially at the time. So DC Comics was originally made by Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson, and he was the first publisher. And he made this corporation was originally two companies: National Allied Publications Incorporated, also known as National Allied Newspaper Syndicate Incorporated. That was founded by Wheeler Nicholson in 1934, and he published New Fun magazine. It was the first American comic book with all original material, not reprinted from the funny pages in newspapers, using pre-existing properties that are already owned by other syndicates as well, and running and for other publishers. And also there was a second company, Detective Comics Incorporated, formed in 1937 with Wheeler Nicholson and Jack Leibowitz. Wheeler Nicholson remained for another year before being forced out in 1938. Detective Comics Incorporated purchased the remains of his National Allied Publications. And those two companies merged in 1946. And absorbing another publisher, their sister publication, All American Publications. Now, All American Publications was formed in 1938 with Max Gaines, the future founder of EC Comics, Entertaining Comics, and they were big in for horror magazines, and the reason why the Comics Code Authority seal was brought up. But All American Publications in 1938 was a sister company of National Allied Publication. It was a sister company of Detective Comics, and got absorbed by the new, bigger company in 1946. But All American Comics was the home of Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and the Justice Society of America. And there was also a distributor, was like a fourth part of this. There were 4 parts of DC Comics. So it was National Publications, and DC was just Detective Comics. So that was like their that was just the cover name, was DC Comics. they legitimately become DC Comics in 1977 when National Comics Publications changes its name. Yeah, and in 1977, yeah. But here comes the rabbit hole. There's this huge corporation called the Kinney National Service, and that they bought National Comics Publications in 1967, and Kinney also then bought the studio, the movie studio, Warner Brothers, and later on Kinney is now known as Warner Brothers Discovery, the big shebang that owns all like different content stuff. This is really interesting. This is the rabbit hole, because I wanted to focus a little bit more on other publishers at the time too, like Fawcett Comics in 1952-53 had to close shop because they were exhausted financially with their legal troubles with DC Comics, and they sold a bunch of their characters to Charlton Comics, and in 1972 DC bought the licensing rights to Captain Marvel Shazam, just Shazam, from what remained of Fawcett, and bought all of them outright in 1994. The valuable Shazam property, and there was Quality Comics. That was the home of Plastic Man and the Blackhawks, and they were bought outright in 1956. There was Charlton Comics that was the home of Blue Beetle and Peacemaker and Roars and The Question, and they were bought in 1983. Then came Image in 1993, and Image Comics comprised of a few different studios by each individual artist. So Jim Lee's Wildstorm Studios and his properties got sold to DC Comics in 1998. And so it's just, and every time DC Comics buys one of these competitor publishers, they fold in the characters into the tapestry of the pre-existing universe. So now you have Wildstorm characters alongside of the DC heroes. Wildstorm characters were like versions of these of the DC characters already in their own right, on their own world. It just, for me personally as a lifelong fan, it's like, I think something such as Wildstorm worked better when it was on its own place, and that the DC universe is a crowded place with just too many redundant superheroes and too many, there's just too many characters in a way. And so when Quality came over, they got all the Quality characters. Like Plastic Man became a member of the Justice League of America eventually, the Charlton comic book characters when they came over in '83. And then you got Ted Kord, the second Blue Beetle. You got the Vic Sage, The Question. You got the Peacemaker. You got all that stable of characters, and that's the same Blue Beetle that comes over to Justice League International with Booster Gold, the whole blue and gold wahaha team, and I really meant to do something, I guess, like a bit more tighter, but I fell down the rabbit hole of all of this, this huge history of DC Comics. I mean, I think I've only touched the tip of the iceberg, one could say, and especially finding out Kinney, the Kinney Corporation, that became Warner Brothers, what we know as Warner today, Warner Media, that kind of thing. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make daily content here. We talk about comic books every day. We have since the beginning of the year. It's got its own playlist. Check it out. I'm a professional chef. I'm also known as the Sultan of Soup. If Wes from Thinking Critical sent you, all you got to do is say, Doc sent me, and you'll get 50% off your next bowl of soup. Doc loves my soup. No, he doesn't. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Ciao. Bye-bye.